What is up, guys? Speed here, and today we are going to be looking at a Vici versus Liquid game, specifically at the performance of their position 4 player, Liquid's position 4 player, GH, and why he is so good at Earthshaker. It often felt at TI7 that Liquid won the tournament because of this hero, and I wanted to break down in this recent tournament what GH does, even when behind as Earthshaker, to guarantee that he gets a good blink dagger timing and has impact in fights. I watched this replay over as is. I noticed a lot of really good tips that I'm going to be sharing with you here today, so stick around if you are a position 4 player and want to learn from one of the best of all time, especially on Earthshaker. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to briefly mention that over on the website, I've done a little bit more content. I recently just recorded earlier this day a first impressions on the EG versus NIP game. Fantastic game. I just watched it throughout while it was going on live and talked about literally everything that came to mind. So there's an absurd amount of value in that video, and it should be coming out on the website quite soon. So if you are subscribed, keep your eyes out for that. If you're not and you're interested, definitely go check it out. There's a lot of other great things on there as well. I recently made the Simplifying Dota series, which I think is beyond fantastic. So go click the link below, and hopefully I'll see you over there. So jumping straight into the landing stage, GH didn't have that great of a start to this game. To be honest, his team can't make a lot of plays. He is pretty immobile cores, especially mid lane, right? Medusa against Kunkka, there's no kill threat there. So I think a lot of players would be really lost in terms of what to do, but I'm going to be basically showing you step by step what you need to do to guarantee that you have a solid blink dagger timing, even when you don't necessarily have kill lanes, right? So first off, this is good Fisher usage, where it basically throws it out in front of the lion, and then you notice this is the best way to guarantee auto attacks. After you get an auto attack in, it's similar to Tusk Shards, where you don't want to just auto attack. In fact, there he even makes a slight mistake. Would have been a lot better off just continue body blocking and using the Fisher to maximize right clicks. Body blocking with any object like this, whether it's Treants, Fisher, Tusk Shards, is more than optimal for getting in right clicks. And on a hero like Earthshaker, where you don't necessarily provide that much damage in the early levels, this is very, very important. You notice based on starting items, this is something I'm going to cover briefly, but he basically rushes boots, gets a clarity, buys a magic stick, which is very important, and then kind of leaves it at that. The next item he'll go for is Tranquil Boots later on, which basically allows you to stay on the map for as long as possible, and that's one of the biggest points for getting your blink dagger. If you have to leave the map ever, you're going to miss on those few CS you actually can get, and that ruins your blink timing. So buying Tranquil Boots and clarities is the most important thing on Shaker, and stick is value if it is good in the lane. Like here, PA Lion, very, very good. Wow, this is such a fantastic play by Mind Control. Feeds the Earthshaker salve. Oh my gosh, that was fantastic. But yeah, so going back to the main point, you're going to just want to spam Fisher in lane, try to use it to secure range creeps in the early levels, and block people off if you are in an advantageous spot in the lane. And when you block them off, if you body block them, that will guarantee you at least some impact in the laning stage, because Earthshaker is not that strong early on. It's just not a great laner. You're just a solid laner who has kill potential with the correct heroes. So if you don't have the correct heroes, in order to guarantee a better blink timing, you can't always play too aggressive. Throughout this game, GH never died in this laning stage. I think he dies once later on, but that is the key, especially in the laning stage. You have to identify if you have kill lanes. If you do not, you have to play around CS, you have to get your levels, and be patient on kills. If you play over aggressive, you notice securing a range group there, but if you play over aggressive, you will get punished and delay your blink timing. And in a game where you're going to lose mid-game fights, that is disastrous, right? Absolutely disastrous. So you really have to be careful, be patient. And in this game in particular, you notice it's 4 minutes in, he's not making some big plays, he's not running mid, ganking mid, going back and forth, doing things crazy. The only notable thing he's done is thrown out a Fisher onto the line, use good body blocks, and checking runes. And that's one side point I'd like to make. I believe at the 2-minute mark, if we go back quite a bit, that was one of the plays he makes, and that is really good to do on Earthshaker, where basically you'll often have downtime as a hero when using a clarity, and you notice he goes to use his clarity here, and getting, or at least checking for the 2-minute rune is a big deal, because if he gets an invis, a haste, a double damage, any of these high impact runes, he's going to actually be able to threaten kills on lane, where typically he couldn't, right? Like, there's just nothing he can really do in this lane. He can throw out a Fisher, he can try to chip them down, but when they're at full HP, his only goal is to try to sustain and sap XP. So when playing in the offlane, it is very, very important to go for side pulls. Shaker, as I said, you are not a hero that crushes the laning stage. Please understand that. I know you have a big Fisher, it's a scary looking ability, but you don't do that much damage. So side pulling is one of the best ways to actually secure your lane. Not only that, it forces people out of position, and when you force people out of position as Earthshaker, then you're able to get kills, right? Then you can get a good Fisher off if they try to contest you. So often, if people are playing under tower, your Fisher will do near nothing. So side pulling allows you to get XP if they kill off the big creep near you, or even a CS, and it allows you to set up for good Fishers. So keep that in mind when playing in the offlane. Next up, he gets bounty runes. Once again, you're literally doing anything you can to get the smallest amounts of gold. And in the laning stage, those things are bounty runes, not dying, and side pulling. Potentially you can get kills. But more often than not, that is not a major concern for this hero. So in this game in particular, something interesting that GH does, besides kill this line here, is he often postures in a way that allows him to make plays both bottom and mid without sitting in one lane or having the TP. So a little bit later on, we'll see this adjustment that he makes, where basically he sits closer to mid than bottom, and he realized that they were just going to try to gank the Medusa a lot. And as a result, as an Earthshaker player, you don't always want to have to expend your TP. And as a result, the best play you can make is do what GH does here, which is stand a little bit more towards mid, right? If he's standing in the lane or the trees, there's no way if he walks mid that he's going to get there in time, right? But because he's already close and paying attention to mid, which is very important, you're one of the best counter gankers in the game. He's able to pick up a big Fisher onto the Kunkka here, which if he was in the lane, wouldn't have gotten that Fisher off, period. It wouldn't have been close enough. And then follows up for a return kill. Sitting in between the lanes and letting kills come to you as an Earthshaker can be the best play, right? As we talked about, Liquid does not have the best kill lanes. Beastmaster is okay, but it's a PA, so it's not a great kill potential for Beastmaster. And Medusa against Kunkka. How can you get kills? How can you actually show up for proper fights? You stand in the middle of the two lanes and react to who gets ganked on. Even if you don't get kills in return, you probably won't die because you're just throwing at a Fisher, and you'll manage to sustain your lanes. And that's typically good enough if you have losing lanes. Notice here, once again, he throws at a Fisher. The Beastmaster still dies, but it's the right idea, right? And you notice, what does he do once he throws at the Fisher? Runs away. Your purpose is not, especially pre-echo, is not to try to follow up with some W unless there's clear kill potential. When disengaging and playing in this defensive status Earthshaker, you must throw Fishers and back. Period. There's no other option. If you're on the aggressive, sure, walk in for the W, then you want to throw out the Fisher and get in range. But typically when behind, if you ever walk in, you are going to die once or twice in the laning stage, and this will set your timing back by 2 or 3 minutes, which is game ruining. Now in this situation here, we look at the map, and there's a few plays GH could make, right? He could look to make a play top, maybe TP in and kill the Furion. He could look to help us secure mid tower. But what is the optimal play for Earthshaker? It is to do your best to find a lane and sap XP. Notice here, previous to the 10-minute mark, without a Tome of Knowledge, he has managed to pick up his level 6. And having levels on an Earthshaker is not something you always see, purely because this hero wants to be roaming, or people feel like they want to roam, but this often actually sets you back and gets you killed. So staying in one lane and securing as much XP as possible by sapping and playing a defensive role as Earthshaker guarantees that you're going to have impact at least later on, right? It might not get you a mid-career kill or get you a mid-kill, but this is the reliable way. He even looks to farm a side camp here, basically inching out any gold possible. You have to do this throughout the laning stage. If someone gives you a lane, you take the lane. You don't go continue trying to get kills. You take lanes. You'll notice here, anytime he gets the opportunity to farm, he's going to do it. Another interesting play, or note to be made, is that because GH isn't making that many plays, it actually allows him to sustain resources. And while this might not sound like a big deal, if you're constantly running around, always needing to throw out Fishers or maybe an Echo Slam, what's going to naturally happen is that you're going to need Clarities, Mangoes, Salves, or at least a Soul Ring. And as a result, you're going to have to spend extra gold on these things, which once again sets back your Blink Dagger timing. And all these things might be like, oh, okay, who cares, whatever, it's only going to set it back by a little bit. But in high level Dota, if you want to get to the next level, every second counts. Getting your Blink Dagger at 15 minutes instead of 18, or 18 instead of 22, is a massive deal. And not only that, a lot of people get blink daggers at 25. You just can't do this. And often, if you want to guarantee you're getting your blink dagger and having fun on Earthshaker, sometimes that's what it's about, you need to play generally passive, right? This might sound crazy, and I feel like a lot of people kind of look at it the wrong way, where they feel like they have to make huge plays on Earthshaker, and wants to get echo, they have to go echo someone. This is not a Void, right? Faceless Void, as the safe laner, would want to go around and use his ultimate off cooldown, but Shaker is not like that, because, once again, as I said, you're putting yourself at risk, and it's not easy to use this hero pre-blink. That's just a fact of the hero. It's really hard to get good echoes off pre-blink. Are there situations for it? Yes, of course. Securing early kills with echo is almost always a go if you can get it, but the problem is you should never force it. And I know I feel like, or you might feel like, that I'm reiterating the same point about playing passive, not buying extra regen, and not going back to base, but these are the key cores that people don't understand. You have to, even if your team is running around killing people feeding, you have to look for the open lane previous to your blink, keep your levels up, and farm creeps, right? Here, he is only 13 CS. That's even kind of low, to be honest. For a position 4 Earthshaker, you'll see them take lanes often and get their CS up, but in this game in particular, Liquid has 3 farming cores, or 3 heroes that want to push in lanes, and as a result, he can't necessarily get his blink dagger. But what he is doing is sapping XP, you notice he even buys Tome of Knowledge, and goes for an interesting skill build. Because he can't get his blink dagger that early, he's putting more points in Fisher, I think. And that allows him to have quite a bit more impact previous to his blink dagger, but still. 16 minutes in, he has 1900 gold amassed, and what happens here? His Razor gets jumped upon. Oh my gosh, a huge Echo Slam. He can turn the fight. Could walk in here, right? No. That is not your job. Your job is not to save your core and sacrifice yourself when you have 1900 gold. Your job is to stay alive and get your blink dagger. You have to understand, your team has to do their best to understand that. Previous to this timing, your hero is just not that good. And it's actually why I think Earthshaker fell off for quite a while. A lot of people just felt like it just took way too long for this hero to have impact. But obviously GH is just super good and super patient. So Liquid can basically bank on him getting a decent timing every single game. So here, once again, let's talk about this fight. Oh, there's a potentially pretty good echo here, right? What does he do? His team's getting gone on, looks like a somewhat hard fight. He throws out a Fisher, he's out. Right? Liquid's getting crushed. They're 5k behind. They even go down 12k at some point this game. But this is the difference between GH and other, like, Immortal Earthshakers. Immortal Earthshakers, well, they'll cast their Fishers well. They're probably pretty decent at echo slamming. But the thing is, when it comes down to these games where it's a hard game, they're going to collapse. Their team won't allow them to get kills, and as a result, they will not get a good blink dagger timing and never be able to take a fight. The game will just end. And that's why this hero can feel really hard to play, especially in pubs. But the thing is, he's playing very patient and literally only using Fisher. He has not casted Echo this game. And that is okay. It's fine. Like, is it optimal? No, that's probably why they're losing. But unfortunately, sometimes that is the reality of Dota. But if your team is ahead on the other end, then yeah, it's totally fine to throw out an Echo to secure a kill, right? In fact, you should, right? Being able to use Echo in the early game should be to just secure solo kills the majority of time. Sure, it's okay to walk in and maybe get like a massive Echo Slam on a mid tower if they overextend and make a mistake. There are situations for that, but for the most part, if you're ahead or having a good game, I recommend just using it to secure solo kills. And finally, you notice coming up to his blink dagger, what does he do? He looks for the open wave. In fact, if you're in a pub, I recommend you look to do this more often and even earlier than the 18 minute mark. I would say coming around to the 10-12 minute mark, you should start looking for open lanes to farm, right? At least safe lanes to farm. Earthshaker is just a naturally greedy 4, so that should be your job, right? Look for the open lane. And when he buys his blink dagger, what else does he buy? A smoke. This is a very good way to guarantee that you're going to get a good echo off. It's all about positioning. All about positioning. In fact, it's so much so about positioning that he isn't even willing to show it here, right? The Kunkka goes bottom. Okay, maybe he could go farm this lane, but what doesn't he do? He doesn't go show in the wave, right? If he shows here, VG is going to play like he has a blink echo slam. This is a really key, important concept that I really only see high MR players use, right? And it's so important. Maybe you're special, maybe you're coming up, you're a really good Earthshaker player and you use this mechanic, but you have to take into consideration that the way you win fights is catching people off guard with Echo, whether it's because they don't know you have it or because of really good positioning. So let's check out now what GH does to win his team fights, even when they are 10k behind in net worth. So upcoming here, we're going to see a fight breakout, and let's pay attention to GH's camera and positioning. Very, very important stuff here. So you notice the fight breaks out, they pop a smoke. This is really good to do even on high ground offenses. It gets broken, and what is the first thing he does? Throw out a fissure. This does two things, and you notice this is a pattern he does through all the upcoming fights. His first spell that he uses is almost always fissure, and you might be like, well, how do I follow up a echo slam? Like, how do I keep them controlled? Typically, that is not really what matters. The echo, you don't need a 4-second disable, and especially in games like this, it's very hard to get it off as is because of the long cast animation of fissure. But using it first does two things. It forces the enemy team to react because their hard carry is getting stunned. It could force a BKB, and it allows it to come off cooldown, meaning that you can get two of them off in a fight. Now here, he's constantly having his camera not only on his hero, but where the fight is too, right? He kind of is paying attention to where he is, not so much so to where he can't see what's going on, right? The main focus of his camera is on the heroes, but it's always a little bit in between. It's never fully on him or fully on the enemy heroes. And often patience is key on Earthshaker. Patience is key. As fights develop, people typically group up. The longer the fight goes on, the more people will group up. This is just something that naturally happens for whatever reason. I think it's because people get a little bit more lazy, or they see things developing, and as the chaos ensues, they just kind of want to have impact, so they run in. Even in pro games, you notice here, right? They group up. This fight has been going on for quite a while now, but because he was patient, he's still able to keep the combo going with the fissure, right? And as a result, he gets a really nice 3-man echo that breaks up the fight and guarantees that they can isolate the PA at some point. Well, even though they don't end up killing her, it still was a really good echo, right? Isolating the backlines and being very patient. His patience was absolutely key there. And not only that, how many Earthshakers would have not have blinked there, right? I think the majority just wouldn't have, because they would have died once or twice in the landing stage, and as a result, that would have been the game-losing fight, period. The game would have ended. I'm sure of it. And that's the difference, right? GH Earthshaker, even in games where they're 10k behind, is able to pick up a blink dagger around the 20-minute mark, even before it, right? I think he got it around 18. Alright, upcoming here, we're going to see optimal Echo Slam usage. It literally doesn't get much better than this. So if you want to go up in MMR, this is easy tips to go up. So once again, throw out the fissure, first thing you do. Actually, you just miss Echo. Okay, moving on. So a Roche fight is coming up here, and I think this was the biggest fight for Liquid. Let's see what GH does here, because it actually looks kind of bad, but you notice a lot of the same principles land, right? The first thing he does is throw out fissure. I think he even misses it there, but the thing is, right, he throws out fissure, and then here, he goes on the PA, and why is this kind of good, right? It's actually weird. Like, why does this end up making sense? What it does is prevent this RP, that if we go back a little bit, right? But what it ends up doing is actually preventing the PA from getting the game-winning burst after this RP, right? Fantastic RP here. Like, super good. But as a result of GH echoing the PA, even though it seems kind of bad, right? Like, how does this make any sense? He's just solo echoing a full HP PA, but it won them the fight. Because she couldn't burst them, the Beastmaster's able to get the roar on the PA, which burns her BKB. At least she's forced to use it early here, and she wasn't able to burst on the RP. That is so heads up, it's unbelievable. Like, having the knowledge to know when to jump in early around a Roche fight is something that I don't even know how to teach, to be honest. This is just next level. But what I will say is that around Roche fights, going in early to prevent the enemy team from getting large spells off can be what changes the fight, right? So if the enemy team has a hero like Enigma or Magnus where they're get a big spell off, and maybe they have a BKB to prevent you from canceling it, or they just used their spell already, your next best bet is to control the enemy hard carry or whatever hero is going to provide the most follow-up damage. So in this case, it ended up being the PA, and that literally saved them the fight. I can't believe, I don't know if he saw that or meant to do that, but still, I mean, really cool play, won them the fight, beautiful Earthshaker play, regardless of intention or not. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, right? It's GH, so he probably knows what he's doing. So they're about to gank a PA, and I just want to quickly look at how he follows this up, as you can see the fissure due to the replay bug. But the ice path comes out, and he actually manages to blink in range for the fissure, which allows him to get in range for the echo. Now, there was a roar anyway, but it prevents the PA from getting BKB off. So you have to understand, against BKB heroes, if there is a stun already coming out, it is actually your best bet to throw out the Fissure, walk in, and echo. If you walk in and W, enchant totem, they will almost always get their BKB off, or whatever defensive item it is, simply because of the cast animations. So if you have to blink to get in Fissure range to prevent a BKB in the first place, then to commit to it, because once you commit to something like that, where you blink in for a Fissure, then you must fully commit and use echo to secure the kill, or else you're basically guaranteeing a lost fight, because they're going to be your enchant totem and just kill you off right after that. Okay, another fight coming up here. I just want to show off the pattern and focus more on his movements here. So, like, what does he do after echoing? And I think this is very important that people make a big mistake on. So here, he throws out the Fissure, where, as we talked about, it barely lasts on the PA due to his Sanjin Yasha Satanic combo. But then here, you notice he goes for an interesting echo, which ends up being seemingly not that optimal, but I believe he's trying to cancel the Magnus RP. But still, the idea there is to basically prevent them, or prevent the PA from following up the RP. And as a result, they're able to kite out our BKB, but most of this fight came down to the Primal Roar. All I want to say, and focus more on, here, is more importantly, after he throws out the Fissure and the Echo, what is his movement? It's not farther in, right? He goes a little bit out, right? He's constantly moving a little bit out. He doesn't want to get bursted. He's going to wait for his next set of spells to come up, and as a result, he's able to get in there and get off a pretty good enchant totem, and then following up, get the Fissure off. Why is this Fissure available? Because he didn't die, right? He didn't go blink in for the backline and kill himself. And the first thing he did in the fight was Fissure, and as a result of using Fissure first, he's able to get off another Fissure, guaranteeing the kill in the PA, right? Without that Fissure, she would have lived. So, if that doesn't open your eyes to using Fissure first to start a fight, I don't know what will, and it gets him 2 kills. Super big deal. And finally, Liquid alls in. Liquid never, at any point past the early game, had any sort of net worth lead this game, and yet they won team fights. Why? Because they pick good team fight, right? Jakiro, Earthshaker, Medusa. They pick good team fight, but they can rely on GH to perform, right? This is why he's such a good 4-player. Not because in games like this, he's 8-0 coming out of the laning stage, or he hits a Giga Fissure on the floor, or a 5-man Echo Slam. Sometimes, your purpose as Earthshaker is to secure your early blink timing, be patient. Yeah, I guess could be for the big Echo Slams, right? He had a huge one on the high ground fight. But sometimes after that, it's just to hit a nice Fissure, maybe get an Echo Slam onto the carry PA to prevent follow-up. And overall, you really have to understand and prioritize who you think is important in the fight, and most importantly, be patient. Patience on Earthshaker is the best thing you can do. Hands down, right? Patience in the laning stage prevents you from dying, getting you an earlier blink timing, and patience in these mid and late game fights allows people and gives them the time to start grouping up and sets up for a big Echo Slam. And in order to have impact previous to that huge Echo Slam, you start with a Fissure, right? So you can disrupt the fight. And what happens when you disrupt the fight and cause chaos? People mash together, they feel like they need to help out, and they group up. So using Fissure first and staying in the backline will allow you and guarantee you big Echo Slams. So hopefully this opened your eyes up to the potential of Earthshaker and what your role is, because sometimes you can't always win the laning stages as hero, but what you can do is win team fights, especially for GH. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on GH Earthshaker. Once again, please do check out the GameLeap website. I'll be making more content just like this one. I made a simplifying Dota series, as I talked about in the intro, that will help you understand Dota on a much deeper level and really simplify the game, because I think a lot of people, they just do way too much. What did GH do this game? He just threw out a couple Fissures. I mean, he played really, really well, but he threw out a couple Fissures. He didn't go 8-0 in the laning stage. He didn't go 10-0. He went 2-0. And why could he go 2-0 when his team is 8k behind? Because he's playing for his blink dagger timing. He understands this importance. And over on the GameLeap website, I'm going to teach you how to do exactly that on nearly every single hero that I've made guides for. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe. And of course, I'll see you in the next video.